Hey, I feel a little bit like I'm a video game live streamer or something with this new angle we have going on. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not a video game streamer. I am here to talk to you about periods, specifically a theme that I have been going on a little bit about in social media, on my blog, and now bringing it to YouTube and to the podcast. The concept of why did I miss my second recovery period? And how, once I've got my first period, can I make sure I get my second one? And this is a big topic and it's a pretty important one. So let's dive in. So right now you might be focused on getting your first period, and that's great and that's exciting. And it really feels like this conclusive goal, this means to an end. But the truth is it's like the beginning, maybe even the midpoint, depending on the person. But what happens very often is women will get their first period and they'll celebrate. You'll go out for dinner, you'll call your mom, you'll tell your boyfriend, all those things, and it'll be great. But then the reality maybe, or what you at least feel like is the reality, starts to set in, which is, okay, I did all of the work to get my period back. This means I did all the work to get my period back. I gained weight, I ate more, I didn't exercise very much. It's done. That's been confirmed to me, because gaining weight and eating more is how you get your period back. You know this, it's confirmation you've been doing this. And so those old habits, those old thought processes, they sneak back in and they start telling you, you gained weight, stop. Oh, maybe it's time to go back and lose a little bit. And probably a more common thought process that I see is, okay, it was one thing to be gaining weight intentionally and eating more and resting and dialing in my nutrition to get my period back when I had no period. It was very tangible, it was very black and white, it was easy and obvious. But now I do have a period. So like, why am I still eating? Why am I still eating as though I'm going to gain weight, or resting if I don't need to now? Like, are you sure I need to? It becomes more gray. It's not as black and white. You have a period. So like, what are you doing? Now, it's important to just really recognize when that is happening, okay? Your brain is going to start arguing with you. It's going to start negotiating. Oh, maybe you don't need, that extra like sauce on top, or that scoop of peanut butter, or maybe you don't need to eat as soon as you get up in the morning, or maybe you can sneak some coffee in before you have your breakfast, or maybe you can avoid whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? Sorry, ever since I had my baby, and I have that mum brain thing, and I'll be in the middle of a sentence. I will be legit in the middle of a sentence on a podcast, on someone else's show, at work, and the whole thought will just leave. It's just gone. It's the most insane thing I've ever experienced. But you guys get what I mean. You'll start experiencing these thoughts creep in, and they'll confuse you, and they'll make you want to make some changes. And more often than not, we'll sort of win the battle by saying, no, I'm not gonna go back to the gym, I'm not gonna start restricting my food, but maybe I don't want to put this milk in my coffee, or maybe I do want to take a walk this morning before I have breakfast. And you'll start just adding these tiny little habits in that don't feel like a big deal. And that's the main thing here. It never feels like a big deal. It feels, oh, I've got my period now, my body's probably feeling a lot better, I'm sure it can probably handle it now. But no, this is not true. This is the trap. This is a trap. You definitely need to keep doing what you were doing. That is why your period will go missing. So that brings us to, why is my period missing, okay? Typically, you allowed yourself to fall back into old behaviors. Now, whether or not it was because you were having this internal battle that I just described, or if you just kind of got comfortable, right? So often we just slip back into the habits that are so ingrained in us. It's kind of a lot of work to get up in the morning and cook breakfast. It's kind of a lot of work to get a full lunch ready, and sometimes we just want to kind of go back to what's easy. because we've always done it that way. HA recovery, that was like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of my life. It's a good amount of time for a lot of people to build long-lasting habits, and it's not that much time. So don't discount the fact that it's very possible that you'll slip back into those old behaviors. So you need to be on top of yourself. So maybe you started to eat a little less and you didn't realize. We've been through that now, and I see this a lot because I coach a lot of women in HA. I coach them to get their period back, and we don't typically stop when they get their first period. We keep working together for the next 2 at least to make sure that their next period comes. So I can tell you with a great deal of confidence that after that first period comes, that's when they really start to get stressed. They're looking at their fertility awareness chart, their cycling chart, and they're looking for signs of problems. So more often than not, when we start to talk through it and like, why are you looking for these signs of problems? We find that it's because they feel like they're not going to get their second period back. And when we dive into why do you think you're not going to get your second period, they typically say, well, because I haven't been eating as much lately. I sort of haven't wanted to force myself to eat this much food. I'm having a really hard time justifying it. So I want you to be aware of that one. That's honestly one of the big reasons why your second period might not come. And same with just nutritional diligence, just getting comfortable, just getting a little bit lazy about it. We want you to be ensuring that you're balancing your blood sugar here, okay? So this is where the concept of like going all in starts to get a little bit gray. I think going all in has been wildly helpful for so many women. Now my battery's about to die, so I'm going to charge it and we're going to get back to this conversation soon. Okay, we're back. So yes, I think it's been wildly helpful for so many people. Probably the majority, but there's also that group of us that probably need a slightly more specific protocol. And I'm talking not just eating tons of junk food and binging on all the sugar that, sure, you're trying to rebuild a relationship with those things. You've been restricting those foods for a long time. We don't want to be doing that. So if that's what you need to do to heal, great. For long-term recovery, for long-term cycle health, all in is not the answer. And I'm just going to say that point blank, all in is not the answer. So one of the other reasons you might not get your next cycle, or it might be really far away, is not because you haven't changed anything. It's not because you have changed anything, but it's because you haven't, and you've continued to eat in a way that's like highly processed foods and feeling like this anti-diet culture movement is actually going to save you your period. And it's not. We need to be balancing our blood sugar. We need to be pairing carbs, protein, and fat. We need to be looking at quality foods. We need to ensure we're eating enough protein, because I'm telling you, that's the number one thing I see in almost every single client that I work with. And if you are not doing these things and you don't get a period, that's going to be one of the first places I look with you. It's like, you're eating enough calories, but where are they coming from? How's the quality? Because that's also going to hinder your cycle. So that's something to look at if you feel like you're checking all the boxes and it doesn't make sense that your second period is missing. You're eating enough food, right? The quality and the quantity is going to matter, because if you pair poor quality nutrients, even if you're eating enough, with high stress or with beginning to reintroduce exercise, you're still providing stress on the body. Your body detoxing a lot of the things that you're eating, or a lot of the products that you're using, because you can't ignore household cleaners, skincare products, makeup, and the effect that has on you. If your body is still trying to pump out those toxins and all that shit, it's a stress as well. So I like to look at everything as a whole, and I don't like to rule out food quality, even though I know a lot of people talk about, and the data, the research is in, calories. If your second period goes missing and you are eating sufficient calories, I want you to look at quality. And I want you to look at habits. And by habits, I mean, are you eating less frequently again? Are you eating only 2 large meals? Habits, are you drinking more alcohol? Are you drinking more coffee? These are the little things that even if you're eating enough calories, could cause your second cycle to be really delayed or go missing. So maybe you got back to training. This is the next one. Maybe you have continued eating, you've even upped your food quality, but you've started training again. This is something that you've changed, okay? So maybe by now you're realizing, hang on a second, she's just talking about people like basically slipping back into HA type behaviors and they lost their period again. I want to know why my second period might go missing besides that. Well, the truth is there is no reason for that. Like, you changed something. If you got your first period and your second period doesn't come, you changed something, or your nutrition quality is poor, or you're having some kind of exposure to some kind of toxin, right? But more often than not, you either stopped eating as much or you started exercising again, or some combination of the two. So I want to make it clear that that's entirely likely. It's not anyone's fault. We live in a world where it's really hard to, justify rest and eating more and weight gain. So it makes sense that we would slip back into these behaviors, and it makes sense that our second and third period would be harder to get. So then the next reason is that you return to a stressful situation, right? Maybe during recovery, you stopped going to the gym, to be in that gym environment, or maybe you took time off work, or you went on a vacation, or you stopped hanging out with certain friends that are triggering. And now that you're re-entering into the cycling world, you're bringing those people or those things or those situations back into your life, and poof, your period's gone again. So it's important to look at that as a whole and see, like, okay, well, what changed in my lifestyle? If I'm eating enough and it's of sufficient quality food, and I'm not exercising any differently or adding more in, well, what else changed? Work, friends, relationships. Did you introduce products that are causing stress? I don't think something as small as that is going to cause your next period to disappear. You're more likely to just see abnormalities like a long follicular phase, missed ovulation, something like that. But it's entirely, possible that it can be one of the contributing factors. So those are the main things, right? There's not a specific, physiological problem that can just pop up out of nowhere. You are typically doing something to cause your second or third periods to not show up. And those are the main culprits. So I want you to do a self-assessment and look through all of those things. What have you changed? What can you dial back in that you undialed from the first time you got your period? And make sure that you're on top of it. And I do have a tool for you to use. You can use the Period Recovery Game Planner. I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. It's a fully printable or fillable PDF. The idea is that it takes you through an assessment for you to look at what did you change in your nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, put together a plan to make sure that you are moving in the right direction. It helps you identify things that you wouldn't have identified by just sitting there and staring into space and thinking about it. So download that guide, fill it out, use it as a tool to get back on track, revisit it every now and then. Whenever you see an issue with your cycle, I designed it in order for you to revisit it and be able to continue using it every single time you feel like your period is kind of getting off track, okay? So that's the Period Recovery Game Planner. I hope that this was helpful. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'm a bit of a hot mess. I have another meeting in 5 minutes. But yeah, don't stress out. There is nothing physiologically wrong with you. You probably just made some changes or slipped back into old habits or got a little bit lazy. That's all that's happened, and I want this to be reassuring, not gaslighting. Okay, that's it from me. Please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a review, a rating. Let me know if this was helpful. I have no idea. And I'll see all of you guys next time.